they're sitting here. When we get to that, I will let you know. And I would like to invite a unique, powerful African that I had the privilege to meet on 2 occasions during the time Chief Onyane invited me at the Organization of United African Congress. He is a quiet man that carries a bullwhip. At the time when he was with the Sunny Medical Center, he commanded a budget of over 300 million, which means contractors tried to bamboozle him, tried to bribe him, but being a strong capitalist nigger who has his head on his shoulder, he stood forward and fought them. He has moved on to better things since then. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Siddiq Wai, the president of the
Good evening. Let me start off by thanking my elder brother, Brother Max Vanite, for those lovely and very, very, very important words. You know, the other thing that he didn't say is that they are the ones that have really laid the foundation that some of us are sitting on. And I must say publicly, I want to thank you for sitting on your shoulder all of you. Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, my job here is a very simple one, but I think I'll be doing 3.5 million Africans in the United States a disservice if I don't toot the horn of one of your own, a father, a husband, an employer, a publisher, a pioneer, Africa's Leader of the Year, Chairman of the United African Congress, a storyteller, a trailblazer, an elder brother, and now Africa's #1 bestseller publisher in waiting. Ladies and gentlemen. One thing politicians don't do is they don't know how to count. As you can see what is happening in Florida. But one thing capitalist niggas know how to do is they know how to count. Certainly, I want to speak a little bit very, very passionately and frontally about this publisher. Very, very unique publisher. If you all know, let me just give you some numbers. There are 3.5 million continental Africans in the United States. 375,000 of you in the city of New York. That's what we do in our profession. We know how to count, sometimes. But ever since we can talk about coming to this part of the world, I have yet to see continental Africans standing with their ambassadors to try to change public policy that does not affect positively on our continent. Everything we have heard is just blight, corruption, and so forth. And now, counting, this just took a job away from Jimmy Carter because they're not going to go to Africa now and say, we want to count your ballots. But there is one man in this country that felt it was about time not only to be a Nigerian, but it's about time that Africans from the continent took their rightful place on this soil that we call United States of America. He created and founded what I can call now the daring organization that Africans are beginning to look to. We have been invited by President Clinton. We are known by the city of New York. during the Diallo case, we were the poster boys. And right now, I could say, through his leadership, for the first time in the history of this country, United African Congress has just completed the first curriculum for cultural awareness in this country. And that's what it's coming from. And that person is none other than our leader, and our brother, and our champion, and now the author of a word that I cannot use very fondly because I'm going to be running for office next year. I got to be careful about that. But certainly Dr. Onyani has trailblazed in areas that people could think of, and he has made a difference. And I, standing here as the national president of the United African Congress, I came with the Sheikh Ali Latif Ali, who is the chairman of the Imams Council, 101 masjids in the city of New York, an African American. Mr. Mohammed Mobako Barrow, who is the Secretary General of PDG, the Republic of Guinea, and member of the board. And Brother Alassane Diop, who is the assistant to the Manhattan Borough President. And my sister Oduni Oshu Tabasi. That's the kind of leader Onyani is, and that's the kind of friend and brother that I have been privileged and blessed to sit on his shoulders. So ladies and gentlemen, let us celebrate and let us make this book, I'm not going to call his name, but let's make this book a winning bestseller in the United States. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your frugality. Don't be surprised if Dr. Chika Onyane is involved with United African Congress. My ancestors say that if you want me to translate it to you, I will, but you owe me some money anyway. I'm still a capitalist nigger, don't forget that. Easily translated, you start from home to look beautiful to go outside. Now, when English came into our system, sometimes the translation doesn't go as we would like it to be. When I came to New Jersey in 1979, Dr. Onyani was one of the principal architects in establishing the Igbo People Organization in New Jersey. And when they created Imo State, he was also principal in the forming of ISANA in America. So it is not surprised that he will come out to be a trailblazer in helping to establish the United African Congress. Yes. Believe me, they have to. They come back. I have been there. I have seen them operate. United African Congress is a very powerful organization. They've held a street carnival in Bronx, and we pray that someday they can bring it into the city of Manhattan. But having said that, our next speaker is someone, when he came to New York in 1998, right here, some people said to him that he was taking over from a very much loved outgoing Consul General that was quite opulent with his performances. And he felt challenged when someone said that Charles Awani left a footprint that he must fill. Believe me, he has filled that footprint and surpassed it, because we have had Nigerian street parade, as little as it might be, in our square Nigerian house corner, and he has been able to get the city to close the streets and make Nigerians proud of being Nigerians. And make
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. You see, anytime Marx introduces me, I'm always around. But let me preface my own brief remarks with a warm welcome to all of you to Nigeria House. I believe it is only fitting that this launch should take place here. I must, of course, congratulate my very good friend, Dr. Chika on the occasion of the formal launching of this book. I had a hint of the book when it was still in progress. Hardly did I realize, however, that Dr. Oyani was going to give the world in general, and the African world in particular, a book that touches at the very heart of the African situation. Those of us who know Dr. Chika Oyani will not be totally surprised that he has written this book, because it's only people like him that have the courage to deal with the explosive issues contained in the book, Capitalist Nigger. There is no doubt that the book is a very, very controversial one. And this I have told Dr. Oyani. At the very first reading, you would think that the writer must have been bought over by some negrophobist gang. But on the second and more dispassionate reading, you begin to understand Dr. Oyani's state of mind and the frustrations that have prompted him to write the book in the first place. I think it means very well. There's no doubt about it. And that is why we must give credit to him for giving us the book. Capitalist Nigger is the heart-eating indictment of the black world. I think we are all agreed on that. But I must say very funny that the book tells half of the story and not the full story. That is, it presents us one side of the coin without the other side. Because there are indeed other factors, national, transnational, and international, that have kept and continue to keep people of African descent, both on the continent and in the diaspora, in their present unacceptable situation. But nevertheless, Dr. Oyani has thrown a challenge to all of us, in spite of its blunt and aggressive style. Capitalist Nigger is a direct invitation to us to take charge of our destiny. The time has come for all of us to rise above the various handicaps of our colonial past and post-colonial period and move our people into the 21st century. This, to my mind, is Dr. Oyani's primary message. We at the consulate will buy 40 copies of this book. Which we are going to give to our friends because in spite of some of the reservations that we have, some of which are personal, I still believe that it is a book that must be read by all people of African descent. It is a wake-up call, and I think we all stand to the rest of it. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation. And like you said, they are going to take a good number of copies. I will wait till we get into the launching section to see if I can persuade him to add additional copies to that 40. And having said that, we have someone we can call our own. When I introduce him, if I begin to read his honorariums, then a lot of us here will stay here till tomorrow. But let's just say that he is an ambassador that served 5 presidents of Nigeria. It's on record. And he is someone that has been a foreign minister at a very young age, has been a publisher in his own right, a professor emeritus, and currently Under-Secretary, which is, in layman's terms, Vice President of the world. Vice President of the world is not a small position to attain. Our own, His Excellency, Ambassador Professor Ibrahim Gambari.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and dear friends. It's really nice to be back here, back at home. And I know there is no better occasion to be back, but to do what I think I know how to do best, which is to talk about books. Because in spite of all what my friend Benite said about my public service, I'm just basically a teacher and trained as a professor of political science. I want to, first of all, thank the publisher of this book, about which I will talk briefly in a minute, and his lovely wife, about whom I will also talk a little bit in a minute, and all the distinguished ladies and gentlemen who have come to join the publisher in presenting this very important book. I would also like to thank the Consul General who has just spoken before me, because he took many words out of my mouth. I did not intend to speak for a long time, but nonetheless, some important things need to be said about the book, which I believe the Consul General of Nigeria has just done. Well, Chief Onyani, doctor, and dear friend, I know that we have quite a lot in common, you and I. But until you published this book, I didn't know that we also shared together a love of writing and a love of books, and sharing a commitment to thinking the unthinkable and saying the unconventional. I know we've shared being a Nigerian and very proud of it through thick and thin. Because your love for country is not measured, or for the race, is not measured by what you do or say when things are good, but precisely what you do and say when things are not looking so good, so that you remind people of the essential goodness of our country, remind them about the great things Nigeria has done before and capable of doing after we transcended the problems that we had. And a country that has fought a civil war and reconciled and still working on nation building certainly deserves support. And with this, I share with Chief Onyani. I also share proudly a second feature, which is a common commitment to Pan-Africanism. Chief Onyani is a true Pan-Africanist. Because he realized, as I do, that the fate of and the destiny of each African country depends on the other. And that no country in Africa, big or small, rich or poor, powerful or weak, can make it in this globalizing world unless we stick together and present a common front to the rest of the world. Now, the third thing that we share in common, that I'm proud I share with him, is being an author. Believe me, it is not easy to be an author. I think it's easier to be an ambassador, frankly, than be an author. Because being an author, you have to spend many sleepless nights alone. Because writing, ultimately, is a very lonely profession. You have to do it alone. And you have to write and let the pen be just a mere instrument to put down what comes to your head and you don't even know how and where. And he has done this very successfully. Published this book called Capitalist Nigger, The Road to Success, a Spiderweb Doctrine. Frankly speaking, when I first heard of the title myself, I was a little bit taken aback. Why would a black man call us niggers? But then, I said, well, and then the more I read about the book, and I said, perhaps we may be playing to the hands of those who do not wish the race very well, who will not go beyond the title. I also was afraid that we may also inadvertently end up appearing to blame the victim. Because for the most part, the Africans, the blacks, are the victims of colonialism, of slavery, of apartheid, of neo-colonialism, of institutional racism, and so on and so forth. But the more I read the book, the more I see that the word, as it's used here, capital Nigger, is actually a term of endearment, so that to deny those who want to use it negatively that power that is attached to their negative perception. And by adding the capitalist to say that we too can do what others have done, which is to succeed in making money and adding value and being part of a globalizing world, which is essentially the globalization of capitalism, let's face it. But even more importantly, it's about the road to success, that this time is a call to arms, that is a wake-up call, that the time has come, the world is moving. Singapore, Indonesia, Taiwan, they were all at the per capita income level similar to Nigeria and Ghana in the 60s. They have overtaken us. What is so special then about the Asian and the Asian miracle and about the Asian tigers that we, the Africans, we, the black race, cannot emulate? I believe this is the essential message, that let us do what is has been successful for others, and we are sure that we can do it, because there is nothing intrinsically inferior or incompetent about the black race. And therefore, if in spite of all the resources that God has given us, both human, material, and mineral, if we are still as far behind as we are, then perhaps the fault may not, as to borrow Shakespeare, the fault may not be in our stars, but in ourselves. And this we must turn around. Buy this book. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to read it with pleasure, because I think it's going to keep us thinking, keep us arguing, and above all, keep us moving forward. It's such an honor.
Well, we have got a mission, and the MC has said he's going to persuade the Consul General to maybe add a little more. So let me say, I will take 5 copies on my own, apart from the Consul General. But please, let us keep this book publicity, and I do hope Dr. Nyane will have the opportunity to move around the world, tell the world what he means by the title, and so the book can now market it. And somebody said, let it become a Bible of every family, so that we can begin now to educate our younger people, our children, so that they understand that nothing inferior about them, that the sky is our limit, and we shouldn't be limited by circumstances of history. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Alimo. We are getting somewhere. That means when we get to the launching part, after we take a break, but not right away. It means that buying 45 books. We're getting somewhere. I will also invite just a comment before our speaker of record. And that comment is from the first Nigerian capitalist that I know. I don't want to use the word nigger to describe him. I am the capitalist nigger that you know on record today. But allow me to introduce the gentleman that Ebony Magazine profiled in the 80s as a true Nigerian capitalist. Someone that was also very instrumental in taking different corporates to South Africa, to Zimbabwe, and even to Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jim Obi himself. And he promised to be frugal with his speech.
So I want to thank the introducer. He's very, very, very kind and perhaps he's very prudent in not describing me as a nigger. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, he asked me to be very frugal. I suppose that means I should be very brief. I will try to do that. But it's difficult to be brief when a few weeks ago, Dr. Yani telephoned me and asked me to come here and help in introducing his book to the world. After conversations later and some other conversations, I asked him to send me a book so I could be a little bit familiar with what I read. God forbid that I should just conclude that the book was written only because of the shock value, as I thought the title suggested. I got the book, I must confess to you, at 1 o'clock this morning after returning from dinner. But because I was going to be here today, I decided to stay up all night and read it. As he himself had acknowledged in the book, it made me angry. It made me very, very angry indeed. It made me also feel quite sorry that one would today hold the view and write it the way it's been written. I must profess to you that I am not a diplomat, and therefore I can be spared the niceties that those diplomats have been trained to observe. Dr. Yani has invited a debate. I have elected to accept that invitation. After I finished reading the book, I felt so badly because I thought that it was written as a primer for the Ku Klux Klan, for the white supremacists, and those who've devoted their lives to believing that everything African is not good. It was very disappointing indeed. According to him, nothing about the, quote, Africa, whether he's here in America, whether he's in Africa, or anywhere in the world, is good. Not one thing is good about the African. He represents the lowest of all the races. He is intellectually inferior. Let me quote him. The African is intellectually bankrupt and discredited. When you tell me that my child should read a book like that and condemn me with such harsh words, I have a right to take exception. Thank you, Mr. Politician, for not trying to use such vile, ugly, and absolutely inappropriate term to describe one of our own. He continues to tell me and all of us who read it that the African has no guts, no brain, no courage, no intelligence. He excels in only, according to him, in the blame game. Oh, that's one other thing he gives us credit for. We're very good at buying very expensive foreign cars. And we also excel in religion. The other says the African leaders are ruthless, But the Africans themselves have no killer instinct. And they walk to their killers willingly, and they accept it. Spare me that. That we lack the willpower to succeed. As a matter of fact, he even takes on my industry, which I take as very personal indeed. He says, we fail to succeed in the insurance industry because we lack discipline, persistence, and willpower. Now, ladies and gentlemen, tell me it is something that I should ask my child to read and believe. To believe I lack willpower, no discipline, and no persistence as an insurance person is self-indictment, and I resent it. His litany of failures of black is unbroken, not even by one single record of success. You know, as I read it, I was reminded of a characterization by former Vice President of the United States, Spiro Agnew, who described journalists as, how did he do it? How did he say it? He said they were natural neighbors of negativism. Wow. It's about, this book is supposed to be a wake-up call. Self-flagellation, which is the province of the weak and the loser. It's supposed to wake us up. After we've beaten ourselves down, we will wake up and say we'll get up. It has never worked for the loser. It has no redemptive value. And don't tell me that what we need is to beat ourselves down so we can come back again. He spares nobody. Even delved into the area of sexism. He says, look, if you are going to succeed as capitalist nigger, you must recognize that your spouse is your first impediment. But that is a fact, it's in the book. Okay, I told you I am not here to praise Caesar, not here to bury my head, but I'm here to speak the truth because he said the truth is what we as Africans need. I am taking him up on that invitation to speak the truth. Let's look at some truths. First, it's true that the book is full of half-truths, incredible generalizations, unpardonable in their extent, and some clear, unquestionable untruths. One thing it confirms is that some of us can be pathological in our own self-hate, and we will always revel in the accident that brought us through our parents who had no right, unlike others, according to the superior intelligence of others, to take their parents. Don't stop me. Give me I will come to his prescriptions. Thank you very much. I'll come to his prescriptions as a capitalist nigger. You must love money as much as you love yourself, your wife, and your children. The day my child believes that I love money as much as I love him, I lose him as a father. I think my family comes first, not money. Let me tell you another untruth. My dear good friend Reginald Lewis was misrepresented in that book, and I must point out those inaccuracies reveal an inability to conduct a proper research before going to press. We are told as Africans we cannot produce. And yet in African Growth and Opportunity Hub, which seeks to replace AIDS with trade, is condemned. My goodness, that which seeks to open African market, to open American market to African produced goods is condemned. And yet, the author says, our salvation lies in production. Final thing. He names his authors, his heroes rather. His hero number one is Michael Milken.
And he earned the right to become his hero because he was, after being convicted for a criminal offense, was able to write a check for $500 million and went to jail, and today is enjoying his money, and that makes him a hero. Spare me that. I think we deserve more. I refuse to accept that all of us who are black are bad. I ask you to tell your children we are good. Some of us earned what we got. Do not dare to hyphenate my success. Don't asterisk my accomplishments. Don't call me a nigger unless you wish to have your face rearranged with my fist. I must congratulate the author though. He's been cited as bold, audacious, and daring. He is all of that and more. And with that, let the debate begin.
The other side of the coin. Don't feel bad, because if you pick up a coin from your pocket, the coin has a head, it has a tail, and it has a middle. And all the comments we have been receiving has been quite positive. And having heard Mr. Obi, I know that he took out time to read the book too. And I hope he can buy it and tell people, read this nonsense. I'm very angry about it, but I want you to read it so that he can motivate people to write a counter book. And when we have another symposium for the argument on this book, I will invite you to provide your own solution. But first of all, I'd like to read a book written by you. Having said that, we are going to take just a 5 minutes break. When we come back, please, we are going to have our speaker on record speak. Continue? No. Okay. The author has said we should continue. Ladies and gentlemen, please, our next speaker is a man of serious integrity. He is one of the architects of the ACRI, African Crisis Response Initiative, which is being put together by, which was put together under Clinton administration. He is the first chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, Senegalese military. Also has played significant roles in the deployment of peacekeeping operations in Africa by Africans. As Dr. Nyani had said, capitalist nigger, Africans have been in peacekeeping operations since the First World War. We have paid a price for the world. His CV is as long as our previous speaker, Professor Gambari. So I'm going to be quite brief in saying that it is a privilege for us to have in our midst the dean, the doyen of African ambassadors in Washington. If you want to have things done for you in Washington and you're from the African nation, you better know him. He also was quite influential in getting the AGOA, African Growth and Opportunity Act, passed. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce His Excellency Ambassador General Mamadou Mansour Seck, please.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. The difference between myself and all the speakers is that they were educated in English and they speak Igbo, Yoruba, and English in the primary school. Myself, I'm from a tiny country called West Africa. By the way, I'm not the dean of the African ambassadors as a whole, but the West African state. And we speak Wolof in my country and French as administrative language. And you will see that my English is hesitant. So let me begin by saying that, like the guy who was speaking about libation, we should say not only Nigeria one, but Africa one, and African diaspora one. You know, I brought with me the business section of the New York Times that you all read. I will see in the digest of the business, one title is talking about AT&T shares, another about output surge 10% Hong Kong, another Amazon's website is disrupted, another Shell bids for Australian company, another title, more pressure on Japanese banks, another El Salvador dollar plan support, and so on and so on. They even talk about tax evasion uncovered in Russia. You didn't see anywhere Africa talking about the economy in Africa. So what are we doing? When I received 3 weeks ago the book of my still friend, chika and even dearer friend, I was first surprised to see first the name, very provocative. Second surprise, the author is my friend, Chika Onyani. So I didn't understand. But once I opened the first page, the second, until the end, I spent 4 days and nights to read it. And as I told you, English is not my first language, meaning that was very, very, very absorbing. Because this guy is thinking of exactly the same way that I think. And even he honored me telling me a fellow thinker. So I'm honored to have that name from him. So my first remark should be that only a black person can write this book this time. Second, this black person must be very courageous. And when I